I feel like there are some times when we point to Rodney Garner and we say great recruiter, and we probably forget a William Inge, who is not on that recruiting level, but is really key to Tennessee in recruiting. And he's probably more the guy that helps close linebackers that show up on campus, whereas Garner's the one that goes out and tours them and talks them into coming to campus. But when I introduce Rodney Colton Jr., a four-star athlete, to you out of Noonan High School, Georgia, he told On3 that a budding relationship with Tennessee's linebackers coach, William Inge, is the heart of his recruitment. Talked about taking a look at the 5 coverages: hook, curl, curl, flat, man. And he was running him through that. The Vols firmly in his top 5. 6 foot, 220-pound athlete prospect recently decommitted from South Carolina after a visit from Ole Miss. His recruiting is opening up, and a young man who's expected to play linebacker at the college level. But clearly, we say this all the time. One in Georgia you want to get because it makes a statement, and a 4-star out of Georgia is one that you definitely want, Caleb.
Yes, and William Inge closing the deal is a big deal because William Inge, we talked ball guy versus CEO. William Inge is like Rodney Garner's the ball guy, right? Like Rodney Garner's got, like, with what he does recruiting, he's going to talk ball, he's going to demand things, and he's going to develop. William Inge, though, is like, this was such a big pickup for Tennessee, and he is a CEO type, even though he's just the linebackers coach because of his experience closing the deal as Fresno State's defensive coordinator, Washington's associate head coach. He has NFL experience working for Chan Gailey. And he's worked with Kalen DeBoer. I think this was a recruiting move as much as it was a develop linebackers move after Brian Jean-Marie left for Michigan. And I think that he is a huge part of Tennessee closing the deal on the recruiting trail with Rodney Colton Jr. And let's be honest, Tennessee's got to build more depth up there at linebacker. I mean, they had a couple of issues. 2 years in a row, they had trouble replacing Keenan Peely. And Arian Carter last year was not the best in coverage. And look, I've covering William Inge, he did a tremendous job as Washington's defensive coordinator.
Yep. Colton is first down. Second down, Anthony Jones, 4-star edge rusher from Crean Lutheran High School in Irvine, California. He told GoVolsExtra.com GoVols247, GoVolsExtra.com is the site I started. GoVols247.com that Tennessee is, quote, probably my number 1 school right now, and that he got to visit with Josh Heupel one-on-one. So this is a big one, too, that Tennessee is in great shape with. He is a 4-star edge rusher, again, out of California. And I've always thought that the pipeline to California is a little overblown, but it is something that you want because Tennessee was recruiting Casey Clausen, and he was willing to come. And then a stopover flight by Randy Sanders led to Arian Foster. So you can stumble onto jewels in recruiting the Western United States of America. But I don't think it's a necessity for Tennessee, but it's a nice little bonus to have in your bag. You might pick up a guy. You now have Nico. You would think you would pick up more guys. So I think Jones could be a big pickup for Tennessee.
Oh, and I think he will be. They're going to land Jones. I mean, you talk about the what Rodney Garner has done with edge rushers. I know you say James Pierce was misused. He's still going to be first-round draft pick. Byron Young went from stocking groceries to becoming a first-round draft pick. He's the Kurt Warner of defensive linemen, honestly. And Jordan Ross is about to be one too because, guys, you heard it here first. Jordan Ross is better than James Pierce, and Anthony Jones is seeing that and saying, "I want to be a part of that rotation." They're going to land him. I can just tell you that right now.
I think they will do. Keyshawn Stansel, 4-star defensive lineman from Clayton High School in North Carolina. Again, the Rodney Garner tie is key. He is a defensive lineman, a little bit in between. Will he be an edge rusher? Will be a defensive tackle? Probably grow into a defensive tackle. He said that Garner and he talk almost every other day on the phone. That is a significant tie. And he said he also likes the fact that Garner has been in the game for 36 or 35 years, which he has, makes me feel old, as that's how long Rodney Garner's been coaching. So, again, Rodney Garner's success and attention to detail. Let's not just refer to him as a guy who rests on his resume. He's not. He's contacting this young man every couple of days. again, while Rodney Garner, we could make the argument, is more important than any other coach on the staff, including Tim Banks, any other assistant. But Stansel is a guy that Tennessee is in great shape with, and he knows that there is a strong tie between North Carolina prospects and Tennessee going back to the championship days under Philip Fulmer.
This prospect, Keyshawn Stansel, is going to test your theory over whether or not the North Carolina pipeline dries up because of Bill Belichick. And because if Bill Belichick is
dry up, but I think there'll be one or two or three guys that you want that you won't get because Belichick comes in and goes, well,
if Bill Belichick wanted, why do you make him not? Why did you make him sound not articulate? He's quiet, but he's smart and articulate.
Yeah, we're on to 2025. We're on to 2025.
Yeah, okay, that was better. The first one was almost like an Ed Orgeron without the crazy voice first, but like.
So Belichick, I need to do an Ed Orgeron without the intoxication.
Do you think he's drunk right now? It's 11:41 in Destin. You think he's already drinking?
No question. No question.
All right. So to this point with Keyshawn Stansel and Bill Belichick, I'm just saying it because if you're going to, he's for the 2026 class. If you're going to do what Belichick wants to do, he's a defensive whiz, and his forte is actually pass rush, Dave, as you know. I mean, this is the guy that turned Lawrence, that built everything around Lawrence Taylor. We forget about that history. Keyshawn Stansel's a guy he's got to go after. So this will test the pipeline of North Carolina, and they got to go after him hard. Now, here's the thing. If he doesn't land with North Carolina, the other competition is LSU, who's apparently going heavily after him. So, but whether or not he lands at LSU or Tennessee or North Carolina, the test of this is on Bill Belichick and the power Bill Belichick has over that state, and if he can actually make an impact, because this is a guy he's got to go for. And so we're going to see if that pipeline dries up.
We'll have an update on Tyler Atkinson, Rodney Durham, Joe Wyatt, and Jordan Smith, David, as we will have 4 to know each and every day on offthehooksports.com, or at least early in the week. So we'll follow up on those guys in particular. Caleb, the show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. We're going to get into another topic that I think you'll be pleased with.
Are we going to talk Grant Wise real quick?
Yeah, we're going to talk Grant Wise. Grant Wise coming up. That'll be Fourth Down, brought to you by Banks & Jones. Why Banks & Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks & Jones. T. Scott. All right, so fourth down, let's get to Grant Wise. Grant Wise is, let me give you some wisdom on Grant Wise. How's that? Reach.
I love that. But
a four-star offensive lineman from Pace High School told Go Vols 24/7 that Tennessee is definitely one of his top schools. 6'3", 210 pounds. He's been to Tennessee 3 times since June, including a trip to see the Vols win over Alabama last season. What do you think of Wise? And then I'm going to talk Alabama here for a second, how clutch that was for Tennessee recruiting that they were able to beat the Crimson Tide.
So Grant Wise, by the way, you had me thrown off for a minute because for some reason I read 210 over 310 for his weight, and I'm like, what? Like, that's not an offensive lineman you want, 6'3", 210.
That's a mistyping there. If we can change that on the side, he is 310.
But no, it says 310. I read 210.
I'm reading 210 right now.
Oh, maybe it was 310. Okay, all right. Sorry, typo. So, anyways, Grant Wise. This would be a big one for Tennessee to pick up, obviously, and for Alabama and Florida too, because I think Florida's going to get in the running with the NIL money they're spending. I don't know where he's going to end up. But given what's happened down in the Sunshine State, I think Billy Napier is going to keep this kid in Florida, Dave, if I'm being honest. Florida is dead set on not giving Billy Napier any excuses anymore and wanting to buy up every recruit in that state if they possibly can. And they're going to do it because Florida State and Miami are bleeding recruits right now. So that's Florida is about to. Guys, hold your nose. I know you can laugh at Billy Napier all you want, and we do too, but Florida is absolutely going to get loaded up on talent in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think they'll win a significant amount, and I think you're comparing them to the same program that sent back Jaden Rashada because they didn't have the NIL money in line. I mean, anything after that is an improvement.
Yes, but they're also in a situation, Dave, where Florida State's a disaster because of what just happened. In Miami, no one's believing in Mario Cristobal. I think Miami hit their ceiling this past year with Cam Ward. Florida State and Miami are also both stuck in the ACC. Look, one of the biggest reasons Urban Meyer had his 2 titles in 3 years at Florida, we don't talk about this. Urban Meyer took over Florida when Miami and Florida State were falling apart, remember? In the late 2000s. And he was able to get a lock. That's the difference between Urban Meyer and Steve Spurrier. Spurrier was at Florida. John Adams corrected me on this in the past. When Spurrier was at Florida, that's when Florida State and Miami were at their peak. So he was really having to compete a lot more. Billy Napier is about to be in the Urban Meyer situation. And I think Grant Wise is going to see that and go to Florida. I just think that the Florida kids that want to stay in Florida are all going to pick Florida, including those South Beach kids, Dave. They're not going to Miami.
I think you're a little too optimistic about them. We shall see. By the way, an update where Tennessee stands in the 2026 class. Right now, 5th overall. They do have 1 5-star prospect, 3 4-star prospects committed to the 2026 class. You know the 5-star, Faison Brandon out of Greensboro, North Carolina, Grimsley High School. Then they have Tyreek King, a 3-star prospect, Brandon Anderson, a 3-star prospect, Carson Sneed, a 3-star prospect, Gabriel Ascenda, who will join us on Off the Hook Sports this afternoon, a 3-star prospect, Tyron Evans, a 3-star prospect, Tyson Bacon, a 3-star prospect, and Braylon Outlaw, a 3-star prospect. So I'm a little confused. It says on Tennessee's listing in their ranking that they have 3 4-star prospects committed, but all the ones I see are either a 5-star in Brandon or 3-star. So I'm not exactly sure where the rankings are. Is it
247 Sports vacillates between their specific rankings and the composite rankings. So it really depends on which way you're looking when that happens, because it does get a little confusing. If you go by composite for 2026, they have 1 5-star, 3 4 stars, 4 3 stars, pretty much, which puts them at number 5. Oregon's leading the way in recruiting right now, and Texas A&M is number 2, and Penn State's number 3, and USC is number 4. It's so early in 2026, though, Dave, that you and I both know this. Like, this is not what the final recruiting rankings are going to look like. And I love when people make a big deal. How many fan bases have you seen in the past go, oh, we got a top 5 class, and it's March, and the recruiting rankings aren't even until next year? And, like, you've seen that, right?
I don't know whether to legislate against that voice. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com, live from the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studios, East Tennessee's largest volume dealer when it comes to Ford and Lincoln. And bank on it, Tennessee right now at number 5 in the recruiting rankings for the 2026 class. Bank on it, Caleb, that Tennessee will finish in the top 5, the top 10, or top 15. Brought to you by Commercial Bank.
Commercial Bank is your neighborhood bank. What makes us different from other banks? We understand that every customer has unique opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. We don't expect you to fit into the same box as the next person or business. Whether it's purchasing a home, saving for your child's future, or planning for your next vacation, we're with you every step of the way to navigate life's big decisions.
Top 5, top 10, top 15. Bank on it. Caleb, I'll make a poll question out of that. The last poll question, have the changes in college football affected your fandom? A little 25%, a lot 50%, not at all 25%, but nobody said I'm out. Caleb, Tennessee will finish top 5, top 10, top 15 in the 2026 class that essentially will wrap up the first week in December.
Man, I hate being lame. And when I say that, you know me, Dave, I love to go big. I love to go bold. When I bet, I'm not just going to bet on the spread. I'm going to parlay that thing with like 7 other legs and go big to win. I didn't want to hear Nico Eberle has potential last year. I wanted to hear I'm picking him to win the Heisman, and I did. So I would love to say top 5 or unranked or a terrible class in general. I'd love to go bold, but I'm splitting the baby. It's going to be a top 10 class. It's going to be a top 10 class in the end. Probably like 9 or 10. And by the way, that's okay given the state of college football and recruiting today. If you focus on maintaining and building around your high school guys with top 10 classes, amidst the era of NIL and the transfer portal, you'll have enough talent, plus you'll have a level of chemistry that can help you win titles.
Here's why I disagree with you. I think that Tennessee will be top 5 where they're sitting right now because I look at the programs that they're behind. Oregon, Texas A&M, Penn State, Southern California. They're 1, 2, 3, 4 collectively, respectively, I should say, in front of Tennessee. I look at schools like Georgia and Alabama as Tennessee's primary competition for prospects. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Where they
I think Georgia's on Georgia. I think Georgia and Alabama over the past 10, 15 years that's not been their primary competition. Their primary competition, unfortunately, has been South Carolina.
Well, who you need to be your primary competition. Better way of phrasing it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You're not going to beat South Carolina for prospects and then beat Alabama and Georgia on the football field.
Right. You will not.
All right. So Georgia is behind Tennessee. And here's something I was told by someone with really strong ties to Georgia in the recruiting circles. They are going with the Nick Saban model of Kirby Smart gets a little bit of a discount because he will get you ready for the NFL. I don't think that's going to work. I don't think it would work under Saban if he somehow came back or never left Alabama. And I don't think it's going to work at Georgia. Caleb, the other side of that is Alabama doesn't have Nick Saban. So I think Tennessee will win some prospects for them. Now, for those that are curious, it's early. Don't get me wrong. Georgia is 14th in the nation in the 2026 class. Alabama, let's just put it this way. I'm still scrolling. They're barely top 50 because they only have 1 commitment. So that'll change. I'm not trying to indict them on the recruiting that they've had to this point. But Caleb, I think Tennessee now, given what I told you with Georgia and given the fact that there's no Nick Saban in Alabama, I think they win 2 or 3 of those recruiting battles for elite prospects against those 2 schools.
I think they win some battles, but Dave, you're falling into the trap I just talked about. You can never judge recruiting rankings. And one, it's not even National Signing Day for 2025's class yet. And we're judging recruiting rankings for the 2026 class. This is going to change dramatically. Here's recruiting advice I give when you look at rankings. I don't think you should even look at rankings, Dave, until the end of June. That's the first time you can get a gauge of where schools will end up, where schools will land. I think if you have a top 5 class in the end of June, you're competing to have a top 5 class at the end of the year. But I literally think judging recruiting rankings right now is like judging who leads your division in baseball after April. And as you know, that's something not worth judging. So I just think it's way too early. Alabama's not going to end up at 48th, guys. They're going to be in the top 10. Georgia's going to be in the top 10. I disagree with you. I think the Kirby Smart discount's going to work. Now, okay, let me take this back. I'm not so sure it's going to work. I think the discount for certain coaches is possible, though. You saw receivers take a Heupel discount last year, and you've seen, just for the record, I think if Nick Saban were around, he would get a discount. If you get developed for the NFL, you talked about it, Dave, and I talked last year at SEC Media Days, not last year, but the year before, to a couple of people that have talked to prospects. There are 5-star prospects right now that have been consistently saying, yeah, this school's offered me $100K more, but this school's put 7 players at my position in the NFL over the past 3 years, and 4 of them have been first-round picks. And these high school kids aren't stupid. They're not going to do you say, Davis, which is tripping over nickels in search of dollars. They're not doing that. And they got smart people around them saying the dollars of the NFL are more valuable than the cents of the NIL. And
I got to be honest with you. We're on. I disagree. I think guys are taking 10, 20% more money when they shouldn't, as opposed to going to the right school. I really do.
Well, one, we're speaking in absolutes. Some are, but some aren't. Some aren't. Some are willing to take a discount for the NFL. I'm telling you, Dave, quarterbacks will, for instance, take a look after this year. You don't think receivers are going to take a Ohio State discount after what Ryan Day just did with Jeremiah Smith, or not Ryan Day? I'm not giving him credit, but Chip Kelly.
I don't think they will. Dylan says top 10 in my opinion. Again, we're talking absolutes. We just don't have the funds to catch up to the Oregons or OSUs of the world yet. So that's where Dylan weighs in. Now, Travis says, okay, so if we're in the top 5 in recruiting, will 25 be the hot seat for Heupel if we lose 3 games? So I think you're saying 26. I say, oh, hell yes. Listen, if Josh Heupel doesn't win 3 games or loses 3 games or 4 games this upcoming season, as some people are predicting, I think 2026 is, I don't know if it's a hot seat year, but it'll go a long ways in determining whether or not I think he can get Tennessee back to an elite level.
Well, and if he loses 3 or 4 games, there's not a chance in hell he's got a top 5 recruiting class next year. There will be decommits out the wazoo. You guys remember Butch Jones going into 2017? He still had a top 5 class, funny enough, for 2018. And then things went south. And I mean, it was just a wave of decommits and a larger wave of decommits. And he didn't even have 5-star hearts at the end, Dave.
No, he didn't. All right. Breaking news that, or is that breaking news? I know that you referenced it in the message board. I'm having trouble finding confirmation on this. Brandon Anderson, did he decommit? Do we have news on that?
Did Brandon Anderson decommit?
If you can help me with that on the message board.
I
think if that happened and we're running that down, but that Sam Pendleton had a hand in that, I would think so.
Yes. He has officially decommitted. He decommitted today, January 27th. The offensive tackle Brandon Anderson out of North Cobb in Georgia, but they're still in the running,
right?
Sorry.
Sounds clearly like a Pendleton thing, right? Especially the fact that Pendleton had 3 years, Tennessee's newest commitment of the offensive guard, and Mo coming in. You're starting behind 2 guys with more college experience.
Yeah, but that's not why, because this is a 2026 class and he's a tackle, not a guard. So I mean, I don't know why he decommitted. There's a lot going on in this. Rivals is reporting this right now, but we're going to have to look more into this later in the week because I'm not so sure exactly why he decommitted. Well, no, you are right. He is an interior offensive lineman, but he's for 2026. So I can't see why the Pendleton move would make him do that unless he expected to start immediately. But yes, he has.
I gotta be honest with you, and I don't share my evaluations a lot because I think there are people better equipped. I don't think this is a huge loss. He's a 4-star on 24/7's composite ranking. He's a 3-star according to 24/7. 6'4", 320 pounds. I watched his tape when he committed. I was not overly impressed. I feel like this is one of those guys you take just in case you don't fill up another spot. So I can't tell you, but this feels like he may have showed up on campus and they said you needed to develop physically and you did not. So we're not sure this is a place for you.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, I mean, the schools he's looking at beyond Tennessee were Missouri and Georgia Tech now was in the running. And I mean, when you talk about those, you're like, okay, yes, Alabama was in the running. Alabama's in the running too. So Tennessee, Missouri, Georgia Tech, and Alabama. And it's like, okay, if Missouri and Georgia Tech are that high, you kind of question how valuable he is. He's a 3-star on 247. I know he's a 4-star on 247 composite, but it's debatable if he's a 3 or 4-star. And again, guys, it's early in the process. We're talking January, 2 weeks before National Signing Day for the 2025 class. So this is just too early of it. It's way too early to break things down.
This is a classic offer early and see how the class shakes out. Especially since the guy's from Georgia. Go ahead and see if you can throw a tentacle out to Georgia and maybe he's got a teammate, maybe he's got friends, he bring other guys in. But if he shows up on campus and he's not in great shape, then move on.